Hey all! So the controversy continues in yet another episode of me taking on controversial asexual topics and issues in our Asexual Awareness Week special. Can I call it R when it's just me? Whatever. So today's topic on the controversy is sex repulsion. Is it a big issue? Is it a small issue? What kind of issue is it? So, sex repulsion is when you're grossed out by sex and you think it's icky and looks gross. It sounds silly when I describe it that way, but it's not that silly. Anyways, this isn't actually asexual specific. Anyone can be sex repulsed. In fact, pretty much everyone is sex repulsed, but I'll get to that later. But there are theories that it might be more common among asexuals, though I'm not sex repulsed. The argument for that could be that since we're not sexually attracted to people, maybe we can be turned off of sex a lot more easily because we don't have that sex attraction going for us. Not nearly enough study has been done into this topic. No study has been done into this topic at all. None. So what's sex repulsion? Sex repulsion simply means you think sex is gross and you're pulled away from it. Now, a little known fact, but this is indeed a fact, everyone's a little bit sex repulsed. And the reason for that is if you went along with anything sexual, you'd probably get into trouble. Like some sexual ideas are just bad ideas that you shouldn't want to do. And if you're saying, no, not everyone's sex repulsed. I'm talking about different degrees here, okay? Some people are really crazy sex repulsed and some people are lightly sex repulsed. Remember seeing The Human Centipede? Did you think that was sexy, or were you grossed out by it? If you're grossed out, which is what you should be, that's your sex repulsion kicking in and doing its job. You see, if you didn't have any sex repulsion, you just go along with everything, no matter how stupid the idea was. So it actually is a good thing in its own right. Now, people usually think of it in a bad way because what they think of is a sexual person wanting to have sex but thinking it's too gross and pulling themselves away from it and hating themselves for it. And don't get me wrong, that's a bad image. But you gotta remember, as I said, sex repulsion is a variable. You can indeed have too much of a good thing, and at its heart is a good thing. But if you're too repressed, well, if I was too repressed, I wouldn't be able to enjoy the film Heavy Metal, and that would suck because I love that movie. But what people have to understand is if you're asexual and you're not sexually attracted to anyone, the fact that you're grossed out by sex probably won't be too much of a hindrance. Maybe, unless you're like me and you like heavy metal, and that would be a huge problem. But if that's not the case, you might not really care that much. Another thing important to note is, yes, if you're sexual and you want to have sex but you're sex repulsed, that can be a big issue and that can be a bad thing. But that doesn't mean that people should treat it as if you have the plague or if you need to be cured. Like if you're dating someone and they say, yo, we can't go anymore because I'm sex repulsed, you can't just say, let's keep going and pretend you'll be okay. No, you have to respect that. You have to respect that, and you have to be a human being. So it's very important to keep someone's sex repulsion in mind and respect it as it should be respected in any relationship. And that, you don't call out your friends and say, let's watch I Spit on Your Grave and give them no warning about what that movie's actually about. Let them know that what it's about before you go slapping on that movie, people. So yeah, it's definitely not a problem for everyone, but definitely can be a problem in some cases. And unlike asexual, where you're typically born asexual, sex repulsion can be caused by all number of things. Of course, the obvious one that comes to everybody's mind would be rape with post-traumatic stress disorder, and of course, something that serious has to be respected. And you gotta completely understand where that. Well, of course, no one can ever fully relate to anyone, but when someone says, like, I'm sexually repulsed because of this. You gotta listen to that. You gotta listen and pay respect. And not nearly enough people do. People don't respect other people's boundaries or other people's what they can handle and what they can't handle. You know, and that's when sexuality starts becoming wrong. When you start putting your sexuality above someone else's, that's when it starts becoming bad. You don't want to do that. So yeah, if you feel sex repulsion is an issue, and if it's actually harming you, like you're sexual and you want to be sexual, but it's like a roadblock, there's of course steps you can take, but don't force yourself. Don't try to fix yourself, because you might end up making yourself worse. And if you're really wounded by it, I guess you could seek professional help. And make sure to talk to someone who actually knows what they're talking about. Definitely. So yeah, this is definitely a controversial issue, because in a few cases this actually can be bad. And also, you're not necessarily born with it. It's something that's caused to you. But once again, everyone has sex repulsion a little bit. And if we just went along with any sexy idea somebody came up with, well, that wouldn't be too fun either. Trust me. There's some ideas that just aren't that bright. So, yeah. Once again, just respect everyone's sexuality, and that's not just in the bedroom. That's in normal day life. If someone has a sexuality that seems oddball, respect it. That's what Asexual Awareness Week is all about, people. That's what it's all about. So join me next time for another episode of Another Controversy.